So a fight that's been somewhat slipping under the radar has finally crept up on us with former WBO 154-pound champion Tszyu getting his second title shot against a Tszyu Murtazaliev for the IBF title. This is his first fight back since losing controversially to Sebastian Fundora back at the end of March of this year. Right now is October the 16th, 2024. I'm TstreeT Controversy with 5U 360 with my colleague Big J on the line on the 19th on Amazon Prime, not Amazon Prime pay-per-view, regular Amazon Prime. We're going to have Tszyu taking on Tszyu Murtazaliev. It's not on pay-per-view. All you have to do is have a Prime membership and you get to watch the fight. This is PBC's first non-pay-per-view fight since December the 16th when David Morrell, former WBA 168-pound champion, fought, I believe, forgot the guy's name, Abeka. But basically, this is PBC's first non-pay-per-view fight in 10 months. So the undercard, to be very honest, ain't nothing on there of note. We don't know if the undercard's going to be fun. It might be fun, but there's nothing of note. As you can see, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights in total on the card, and of course, including the main event, Tszyu Murtazaliev. We don't know how many fights we're going to be able to see, if we're going to have prelims leading in on YouTube. But the card itself, as you can see, as I have on the screen, is going to be starting at 8 p.m. Eastern our time. So I'm guessing we're probably going to get, how we do here in the States, 3 fights, and then the main event. So also, unfortunately for Australian fans and the Oceanic fans through their platform, they have to pay $69.95 for the fight on pay-per-view. So, Tszyu's a hot ticket over there. The undercard, the fights that are somewhat sticking out are Cesar Tapia versus Indri Savadra. How do you pronounce that? Do you know, Big J?
I can't remember. He's the bloke that knocked out Isaac Hartman earlier in the year on the Sam Goodman, Mark Sleeves undercard. Okay. Yeah, I can't remember how to pronounce his name.
And you got Yoenis Tellez. He is ranked by the sanctioning bodies. Fast track Cuban taking on Johan Gonzalez. In fact, let me make sure. Is he Cuban? Yes, he is Cuban. All right. And basically, it's the money for this card is going to Tszyu. That's why the undercard is so, I guess you could say, somewhat poor. Also, you have the return of Gary Antonio Russell. Now, for those who don't know, there were three brothers. Gary Russell, the guy that we know, former 126-pound champion, the one that fought Lomachenko. That's Gary Antoine Russell, the one who lost to Alberto Puello, the 140-pound ranked fighter. And then it's the 118-pound Gary Antonio Russell, who's been on a 2-year layoff. And I was wondering earlier in the year where he was at. This will be his first fight back, and he's fighting a Jaden Bernias. And yeah, that's the card. So me and Big J already went into detail on this card. The fight is going forward. Florida had issues with some natural disasters over the last month. Ticket sales are not going well at all, which, it's not surprised. You have an Australian fighter and a Russian fighter fighting in Orlando, of all places. By the way, for those who don't know, outside the States, I don't know how you don't know, but Disney World is in Orlando. So, somewhere I was blessed to go to several times in my life. Miss my grandparents. But moving on. The 154-pound division, I'm going to break it down as quickly as I can. Sebastian Fundora is the WBC and the WBO champion. Terence Crawford is the WBA. The IBF champion is Tszyu Murtazaliev, who Tszyu is fighting. Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence are supposed to be in a deal. Supposed to be finalizing a deal to fight sometime the first half of 2025, thanks to Terence Crawford, who allowed those fighters to go into fight or to negotiate for a fight because he waived his mandatory and he wants to fight the winner. We don't know what he's doing. Jermell Charlo is still kicking around because he is the WBA champion in recess, so he can come right now anytime he wants and fight Terence Crawford. Wild card is Jermell Charlo fights Sebastian Fundora if it's not Errol Spence. Me personally, I think Errol Spence is on his way to retirement. And as you can see, you got Sergey Bohachuk Usyk, who's going to be taking on Israel Madrimov on the or as the co-feature, the chief support of Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury 2, December the 21st. And you have Virgil Ortiz Jr., who is the WBC interim champion. And that right there are the top guys in the 154-pound division. On the outside looking in is guys like Josh Kelly, Xander Zayas, Charles Conwell, Jesus Ramos. Erickson Lubin is rumored to be fighting the winner of Bachar Murtazaliev next sometime in December or so. And then Tszyu would fight Fandora, Spence, Fandora, Crawford, Fandora, Charlo winner. So that's how it's supposed to play out. So to get your final thoughts, basically, or your fight week predictions on Tszyu versus Murtazaliev, how does the fight play out?
Well, I've been saying the entire time, and I've got a question I want to ask after this prediction. I've been saying the entire time that Tim's probably methodically going to break him down similar to what he did to Tony Harrison, and in the ninth, 10th round, and I'm going to stick to that, even though he probably knows and his intention will be to make an emphatic statement and probably knock Murtazaliev out inside of 4 rounds. But I think it's going to be more of a long, breakdown. I think he's going to get the job done inside of 9-10 rounds. That's been the entire time, and I'm going to stick to that. I know that you've said that you think he's going to destroy him in 4. I hope that's the case, but for some reason I just can't see that happening.
I think for some reason I have a feeling he's going to come out to try to make a statement.
Yeah, well, I think he really needs to, because that way he'll put the rest of the division on nose. Because everyone's like, "Well, he lost to Fandora. If it wasn't for that cut, he would have knocked out Fandora inside of 6 rounds." He does need to make a statement, but I think it'll be a methodical breakdown, 9-10 round stoppage. That's the way I see it.
Well, the reason why I think he should make a statement is because as you told me, and you're the first person I heard it from, even though I know he's been training over here more and more, is that he's planning on moving to the States, correct?
Yeah, well, there has been. I have heard stories that he will be moving over to the States shortly, if he hasn't already. That way he can improve his camps and stuff. I mean, I've always said the entire time I don't see the infatuation with America. America is not the boxing global mecca it was 15, 20 years ago. You've got the Saudis now. You've got the Brits. When's the last time you had more than 30,000 people to a fight?
Yeah.
I mean, the Garden can only hold 20.
Yeah, it was Errol Spence's fight. I believe it was against Ugas, and then Canelo did it once. But yeah, we have it. It's not common.
Exactly. You guys. I mean, Australia. I think the biggest crowd we've ever had was obviously Pacquiao Horn when we had 52,000 plus at the stadium. And we've had over the last since then we've had George had 42. We've had Mundine Green got 30,000 in Adelaide, so we can get crowds. I mean, on any given day, Wembley Stadium's been packed out how many times now? 5, 6 times?
Yeah.
9 people? America.
The UK at one point in time, was doing 3 stadium fights a year between Matchroom Stables and
I know I've spoken to people, particularly Sean Porter. He said, Vegas is a totally different. I know guys who have been to Vegas. They said it's a totally different vibe over there than here, obviously. But I'm like, 8,000 people in a tiny little stadium, big deal. Try to get 100,000 people. So America's not the boxing mecca it once was, and I don't think it ever will be again. And
for those who are wondering why this fight ended up in Orlando, my theory is back in August, Caleb Plant and Trevor McCumbee were supposed to headline a card with Stephen Fulton on the undercard in Orlando. My theory is similar to Liam Parrow and Richardson Hitchens, is that PBC has a deal or they owed this arena a fight. And basically, Tszyu was available to fight Murtazaliev, and basically they're fulfilling that debt to the arena, because outside of it being an obligation, this fight could have been, in LA. It could have been in, Carson, anywhere in California, really. It could have been in Vegas somewhere, even in a smaller venue in Vegas, or even in a smaller venue in New York, or even New Jersey, in Atlantic City. Every now and then we still get, a big time fight down there. But Orlando, it had to be some type of obligation that PBC has to them to stage a fight there. And then, it was just so happens it was Tszyu and Murtazaliev. Because from what I've been hearing, the tickets are not going well at all. In fact, I'm going to try to pull something up.
They should have brought it to Australia, because they easily would have sold out, let's say, QBank Arena, Kudos Arena in Sydney, which holds 1,000 people. They easily could have got 21,000 people to Kudos Bank Arena. Remember, October, the footy season is now over, so there's no footy to compete with. So you could have easily got 20,000 people in Sydney for a world title fight, no problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
They could have easily got 20,000 people, to Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney, or 15,000 people in Melbourne, or, take your pick. There's plenty of places they could have got, a sellout crowd, 20,000 people or so, or Newcastle. They could have put it at the stadium, at the McDonald's Stadium where the Knights play, and got 30,000 people there. Easy. But anyway, so...
Yeah, and
I think it's a missed opportunity.
Well, there's a rumor. Is that the promoter, Main Event, no affiliation to Main Event Australia, the broadcaster, Main Event, headed by Kathy Duva, the daughter of Lou Duva, is that Murtazaliev's team didn't want it in Australia, and hear me out. This is their last champion. Main Event is a dying promotion. At one point in time, they had Dmitry Bivol, Sergey Kovalev, and several other, somewhat high-profile fighters of Voyaslav Glaskov before he lost to Charles Martin, who got hurt during that fight. So he's their last champion. And maybe theory time is that they probably were fearful that Murtazaliev wouldn't get a good treatment by the judges in Australia. And remember, basically, if Murtazaliev loses, that's it for this promotional company, likely. Yeah,
well, as I said to you yesterday on the phone, every travelling IBF champion that's come to Australia has lost their belt. The South Korean bloke that fought Lester Ellis back in the 80s, the Japanese bloke that fought Jeff Fenech back in the 80s. Every travelling IBF champion has lost their belt in Australia. So there you go. So it's not a good thing for IBF champs to come to Australia, because you'll lose. So but I don't blame them for that. I mean, you probably would have got a bigger portion of revenue if you come to Australia.
Yeah, he would have got more. He would have got more money, likely.
He'll certainly get he'll get a percentage of the revenue for the pay-per-view buys, because that's Main Event's business plan. They go smaller venue, smaller crowd, bigger pay-per-view, because they know the money's in the pay-per-view buys. It's not the ticket sale; it's in the pay-per-view buys. So, and that's been Main Event's. No limits business model from the get-go. Smaller venues, pack them and get bigger pay-per-views.
Yeah, so something that we knew was going to happen eventually. Finally, his father's going to be showing up to a fight ringside, and his brother's going to be working in his corner. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, Kosta's Kosta will be showing up, which is good. He hasn't showed up to any of the fights in Australia. There's been things that the boys, want their dad to tone it down, but I'll let them explain that. That's in their videos and stuff. He's been, because Kosta's been training with Tim over in Thailand for the last for the preparation for this fight.
Yeah, I saw some clips on his Instagram page.
Yeah, so to see their dad there is going to be a good thing. I think that's going to be a good thing. Hopefully it all goes well. But I have a question off topic. What happened to Brian Castagna? He's dropped off the face of the planet.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what's going on with him. It's a common thing for these PBC fighters. They just go inactive. And as I'm looking at the ranking, he's not even ranked anymore. And how long? He's been going for about 2 years. About 2 years, right?
Well, since the second Charlo fight, yeah, he hasn't shown up since then. And that's got to be at least 2.
Yeah. 29 months.
Well, there you go.
The Charlo fight it was in May of 2022.
Yeah, well, I think Tim will get past Murtazaliev at too many drags, then he'll move on. Probably his next fight after that will have to be the Lubin fight. I don't think he'll get a unification because there's just too much going on with Fandora and Crawford for there to be a unification.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Lubin, and as we talked about in our previous preview video, Lubin is likely the next IBF mandatory. So basically, if Tszyu wins, he's getting his mandatory out of the way, and then he'll have free reign for at least a year to do what he wants.
Yeah, and that's the way they'll play it because I'll get Lubin. He'll be a stay busy fight. Tim will beat the shit out of him. And yeah, they'll just wait until they get the unification bout with either Fandora or Crawford next year. So Tim will probably fight again in February of next year and then bide his time till probably this time next year to get that unification bout.
Yeah, I'm having doubts that we'll ever see Crawford versus Tszyu. For one, there's heavy rumors and growing speculation, that Crawford's going to accept that two-fight deal to fight Conor McGregor once in the boxing ring and once in MMA, and that's actually a confirmed deal that was offered. So and we know that Crawford got a hard-on for Canelo. So it's that Tszyu fight, it seems to be disappearing.
Why would Crawford want to piss on his legacy by wasting his time with bloody Conor McGregor?
Exactly, that money. Originally, he turned it down. He did a video about 2 weeks ago turning it down. But lately, over the last week, he's been entertaining it. And the fact that he stepped aside for Fandora because he had a plan. He wanted Fandora to drop the belt. He did he did interviews on it. He was targeting Canelo, and then if it wasn't Canelo, he wanted Fandora. But now, since he is basically stepping aside, it makes me wonder, okay, well, who's he going to be fighting when he returns? If it's not Canelo, then who? So because he could have had the belt, so and that's where my logic is coming from, to where I'm thinking, man, that Crawford McGregor fight could possibly happen, especially Saudi funded too.
How much is that worth? How much are they putting on the table?
We don't know, but it's going to be crazy money. We know it. Listen, off the top of my head, Conor going to get at least $50 million. I can say that just right there. So Crawford might get, 10, 20, who knows? But, it's going to be a lot of money and more money that he would make fighting any of the other guys.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, as they say in boxing, if it makes dollars, it makes sense.
Yeah, he'll beat the shit out of Conor in the ring, but in that octagon, he's stepping in, going to get his head kicked off. And that's what he said in the video he put out. He said, "Why would I go in there so you can just kick my head off?" And I guess that's what he wants for the money.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Conor's going to kick his head off. I think Conor will just grab him and tie him up real quick and tap him out in 45 seconds.
Yeah, that can happen.
I don't see Conor in such a dickhead that he would kick Terence Crawford's head in. I don't think he'd do that. I think he'd just tie him up and make him tap real quick.
Yeah.
But I don't think Conor McGregor would be that low to do that. Hopefully I don't think he'd do. I think he'd just grab him and tie him up real quick and not hurt him. Why would you hurt him?
Or just get him in the clinch and just beat him up in there. It's so many different ways you can probably. But we'll just have to see. And as it stands right now, we're halfway through October, so we're likely going to be hearing something soon, or definitely within the next, I'm going to say, month and a half or so on what Terence Crawford's going to be doing. But once I saw that he stepped aside for Fandora to fight Spence or whoever he's going to fight, I said, wait a minute, because he had the belt. He could have forced Fandora to fight him, or Fandora would have had to drop the belt and he would have been elevated. So, that was telling right there that he's got other plans.
True. And it one-ups Mayweather, I just thought, because if Crawford gets in the cage with McGregor, that's one thing Mayweather never did. So
Yeah. At least he attempted it.
Mayweather, because I'd rather see Conor McGregor kick Mayweather's head off than bloody Crawford.
Yeah.
So Mayweather's a dickhead. Crawford, everyone likes him. So
yeah,
Crawford's not doing anything to bring the sport into disrepute. So I'd rather see Mayweather getting there with McGregor.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when they were bouncing around the idea of Mayweather McGregor, people like, oh, nobody want to see that. And, it was a lot of people saying, like it was going to flop and everything. And then boom, the biggest pay-per-view of all time. Excuse me, the second biggest pay-per-view of all time. Mayweather Pacquiao still holds the number, I believe.
Yeah. And but that was a decent fight. I mean, to Conor McGregor's credit, I think Mayweather carried the fight a little, but still, Conor deserves a lot of credit for doing what he did.
Yeah, and lasting as long as he did. And remember, there was a controversial body shot in that fight. That Conor hit Floyd with, and it was people thought. I mean, it was said to be low, but a lot of people thought that was a clean body shot. Yeah, so it was entertaining while it lasts. So I feel the same way about if McGregor Crawford happens, is that it's going to build up buzz, and also it could possibly lead to Crawford getting his wish against Canelo, because Crawford will have raised his profile.
But then again, I mean, the sport of boxing is relying, and UFC they're doing this. They're relying on these novelty fights to get by when they don't need to do that sort of shit. I mean, it's like Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. We don't need Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Why is that even entertaining?
I can't even believe that's still a thing, and that's a month from today, I believe. A month away.
We've got to do a video on that because I don't like that fight one little bit.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that. But all right, to wrap up, closing thoughts on Murtazaliev, Tszyu?
I still maintain 9 to 10 rounds. I think he'll methodically break him down, beat the piss out of him. I think the tower will get thrown in. I think it'll be pretty much a carbon copy of what Tszyu did to, what was his name? Tony, what's his last name?
Tony Harrison.
That's the one. Tony Harrison. Yeah, I think it'll be a carbon copy of that. That's the way I see it.
Well, let me say this. I'm not going to stay on the fence here. I do think that Tszyu is going to go out to make a statement, but at 22-0 with 16 KOs, here's the thing. We haven't seen enough of Bakr Murtazaliev over the years because he's been fighting in dark matches, but also that can be a bad thing because how good is this guy really? Going into a title fight, going into, a big fight like this, who knows, how this guy's going to come out. And I was a little hard on him during his fight with Jack Couquet because he was, it was Ramadan and he had to deal with that during camp. However, we've seen it many times in boxing where we're thinking a guy just going to get beat up and then they come out there, better than we thought they were, very similar to Joshua and Dubois. Most recently, so I'm going to be careful not underestimating him because he is undefeated and we haven't seen him fight this level of competition. But he did, before he stopped Jack Couquet, he did have issues with him. He was struggling with him. And Jack Couquet, I don't rate him highly at all.
No, maybe Bakr is one of those guys that plays to the level of his competition.
Yeah.
Out of the competition, the better he is. Maybe he's one of those blokes.
Yeah, but we'll see.
That's why I'm not saying 4th round knockout. I'm saying 9 to 10.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, well, with that being said, we will be here after the fight, giving a post-fight preview, and I'm probably going to cover 3 fights on the card. The undercard, as you can see right here on the screen, it's not. I'm going to give the card a C. That's on a plus-minus scale. Ain't nothing really here of note, but I'm not saying it might not be a fun card, but also I'm interested in what it's going to look like, production quality and everything, because it's PBC on Prime's first non-pay-per-view fight. With that being said, thanks for watching. Please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy and Big J on Twitter at Old Mate Big J. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on Saturday night.